The deepest part of the ocean is 7 miles below the surface. And right now, at this moment, people are making decisions about what happens down there. Decisions that will affect your life. But you have no idea what's actually at stake. Because nobody is talking about what's really happening in the Mariana Trench. Most people think it's just a geological curiosity. A place where extreme pressure makes everything impossible. Where only specialized robots can survive. Where nothing matters because it's so far away, so isolated, so irrelevant to the surface world. But that's a dangerous assumption. The Mariana Trench isn't irrelevant. It's becoming the center of a geopolitical struggle. Military submarines are operating there. Governments are establishing strategic positions. Corporations are preparing to extract resources. And the geological instability is increasing simultaneously. Which means the forces that are reshaping the deep ocean forces that most people don't even know exist, they're converging right now. And when those forces collide, when geological stress releases, when the pressure that's been building finally breaks, the consequences will reach the surface world. Think about that. 7 miles of water above you, millions of tons of pressure, and beneath all that, systems are destabilizing in ways that could trigger tsunamis affecting every coastal city on Earth. But that's not even the scariest part. The scariest part is what's being hidden from you. Scientists are discovering organisms down there that shouldn't exist. Life forms adapted to pressure that would crush any surface creature instantly. Bacteria with genetic sequences unlike anything in our biology textbooks. Ecosystems operating on chemistry we don't fully understand. And every discovery raises a question what else is down there. And while scientists try to understand what's alive in the darkness, while governments position military assets, while corporations draw up mining plans, the geological foundation itself is becoming unstable. The fault lines are shifting, the thermal vents are intensifying, the pressure systems are changing, and nobody is asking what happens when that stability breaks. Because if it breaks, if the pressure suddenly releases, if the geological systems collapse, the entire ocean circulation system could shift. The climate could change, coastal infrastructure could be destroyed, entire economies could be disrupted. But it's not just the environmental catastrophe that should terrify you, it's the strategic implications. It's the military conflicts that could emerge. It's the resource wars that are about to begin. It's the fact that the Mariana Trench is becoming the most strategically important location on Earth, and almost nobody understands why. You're living in a world where decisions about your future are being made in the deepest, darkest place on the planet, and you're being kept in the dark about it. Stay with me for the next 20 minutes. Because what I'm about to show you, what's actually happening in the Mariana Trench, it changes everything about how you should understand the world. We know more about the surface of Mars than we know about the Mariana Trench. And that should genuinely terrify you. Think about that for a moment. Mars is 140 million miles away. We've sent multiple rovers. We've photographed it extensively. We've analyzed its geology in detail. We have maps of nearly every inch of the Martian surface. But the deepest part of our own ocean, the place that's literally on our planet, in our world, affecting our climate directly, we know almost nothing about it. The Mariana Trench is 7 miles deep, nearly 36,000 feet, deeper than Mount Everest is tall. The water pressure at the bottom is over 1,000 atmospheres. That's like having 1,000 elephants standing on top of you simultaneously. The temperature hovers just above freezing. The darkness is absolute, complete. There's no light down there whatsoever, not even a glimmer. Just pitch black. And fewer humans have actually been to the bottom of the Mariana Trench than have been to space. The moon has been visited by 12 people. The Mariana Trench has been reached by maybe 10, maybe ever in recorded history. Why? Because it's impossibly dangerous. The pressure would crush you instantly. The the technology required to survive those conditions costs millions of dollars. Each dive is an expedition. Each descent risks everything. It's not like sending a rover to Mars. We can send dozens of rovers. We can afford to lose some, but the Mariana Trench. Every expedition is critical. Every attempt is a massive gamble, which is why we know so little about it. Scientists have visited a handful of times. Each expedition focuses on specific research questions. They collect data, gather samples, take measurements, and get out. They don't have the luxury of exploring. They don't have time to understand they have a few hours in the deepest, most hostile environment on Earth, and then they have to leave. And in between those rare expeditions, years pass. Nothing. No monitoring, no observation, no understanding of what's happening down there. The abyss remains unexplored, unknown, hidden. But here's what's genuinely alarming. The information gap isn't just because of technical difficulty. The information gap exists because limited access means limited public knowledge. And limited public knowledge means limited oversight. And limited oversight means things can happen down there without the world knowing. Military submarines have been operating in the region for decades. Their exact activities remain classified. Government agencies monitor the area. But what they're monitoring, that what they're looking for, and what they're concerned about, none of that's public information. Corporations are planning deep-sea mining operations, but the full extent of their plans, the environmental impact assessments, the safety protocols, much of that remains proprietary, secret. So the Mariana Trench has become a place where information is compartmentalized, where different organizations, military, scientific, corporate, have access to different pieces of the puzzle, and the general public, you get almost nothing. You get vague statements about pressure and darkness and extreme conditions, but you don't get understanding, you don't get truth, you don't get knowledge about what's actually happening down there, and that's by design. Whether intentional or not, the extreme difficulty of accessing the Mariana Trench has created a natural barrier to public knowledge. It's easier to share information about Mars. We can send rovers and share images. We can broadcast discoveries globally, but the Mariana Trench. Every scrap of information comes from expensive expeditions. Every discovery requires millions of dollars to verify. So most of what we know comes from secondhand sources, from researchers, from institutions, from organizations with their own agendas, and most of it is incomplete. The pressure in the Mariana Trench would crush you instantly, like being beneath the weight of a mountain made of water. Imagine all the water in the Atlantic Ocean pressing down on a single point. That's the pressure at the bottom of the trench, over 1,000 atmospheres, enough to compress your body beyond recognition in seconds. But that's not even the dangerous part. You see, when people think about the Mariana Trench, they think about pressure and darkness and extreme isolation. They think about the physical impossibility of human survival. And yes, those things are real. The pressure would kill you faster than your brain could process that you're dying. But the pressure isn't the actual danger. The pressure is just the visible symptom of something much more threatening happening beneath the surface. Think about what pressure actually is. It's force, immense force, pushing down, compressing, deforming everything it touches. And for millions of years, that constant pressure has been reshaping the rock at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. The weight of 7 miles of ocean has been slowly but relentlessly transforming the geological structure. Rock under extreme pressure behaves differently than rock at the surface. It deforms, it changes properties, it becomes unstable in ways we barely understand. The pressure creates stress, enormous stress, and stress, when it builds over time, when it accumulates, when it has nowhere to go, it releases violently. This is where the real danger becomes clear. The Mariana Trench isn't just a hole in the ocean floor, it's a fault line, a collision zone where tectonic plates are grinding against each other. One plate is being forced beneath another. Subduction, the process has been happening for millions of years, and with every year, stress accumulates. The pressure from above from 7 miles of water is pushing down. The tectonic forces from below are pushing sideways. The thermal energy from the Earth's interior is pushing up. All these forces converging at the deepest point on the planet, creating conditions of unimaginable stress. And the thermal vent system at the bottom of the trench is making it worse. Hydrothermal vents are openings where hot water from beneath the Earth's crust escapes into the ocean. The temperature difference between the hot water and the cold ocean creates thermal stress. The chemical reactions intensify. The rock itself is being transformed at an accelerated rate. This isn't static, this isn't stable. The geological system at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is in constant transformation. The rock is being reshaped, the pressure is building, the stress is accumulating, and the thermal activity is speeding up the process. But here's what makes this genuinely terrifying. The stress at the bottom of the trench doesn't stay isolated. Stress transfers, it spreads, it migrates through the rock like waves. When the pressure builds to a critical point, when the rock can't handle the stress anymore, rupture happens. And when rupture happens at the deepest point in the ocean, the consequences cascade upward. A magnitude earthquake at the bottom of the Mariana Trench isn't like an earthquake at a shallow depth. The pressure is different, the rock properties are different, the amount of energy released could be catastrophic. Imagine millions of tons of rock suddenly shifting, suddenly breaking, suddenly releasing pressure that's been building for thousands of years. The displacement of that much rock, the sudden release of that much energy, it doesn't dissipate at the bottom. It radiates outward. It travels through the water. It reaches the surface as a tsunami, a wave triggered not by surface earthquakes, but by movement at the deepest point in the ocean. And a tsunami from the Mariana Trench would be unlike anything modern civilization has experienced. It would travel across the Pacific faster than planes can fly. It would hit multiple coastlines simultaneously. It would destroy coastal cities. It would displace millions of people. The economic impact would be in the trillions. But that's assuming we see it coming. That's assuming we have warning. And here's the terrifying part. We're barely monitoring the Mariana Trench. We don't have continuous seismic monitoring. We don't have real-time pressure sensors. We don't have systems that would alert us to building stress. We have almost zero warning capability, which means if the pressure releases, if an earthquake happens at the bottom of the trench, if a tsunami is generated, we'd know about it only after it's already traveling toward the coast. Scientists are discovering creatures in the Mariana Trench that shouldn't be able to exist, and every discovery raises more questions about what else is down there. What else evolved in conditions no human can survive? What else is hiding in the darkness? Life down there operates under completely different rules. The pressure is so extreme that organisms have evolved in ways that violate what we thought we knew about biology. These aren't just variations of surface creatures. These are fundamentally different life forms. Organisms that have adapted so completely to extreme conditions that they literally can't survive anywhere else on Earth. Take the amphipods. These are crustaceans, basically shrimp-like creatures, but the amphipods in the Mariana Trench are different. They're larger than their shallow water cousins. Their exoskeletons are structured differently. Their metabolism operates at pressures that would instantly kill surface amphipods. Scientists have studied them and realized these creatures evolved unique adaptations at the cellular level. Their proteins work differently. Their cell membranes have different compositions. Even their DNA shows signs of having adapted to extreme pressure. And the fish, there are fish down there that are nothing like surface fish. Some have no eyes, none. Complete absence of eyes. Why would they need eyes? There's no light, absolute darkness. So evolution eliminated the eyes entirely and reallocated that energy to other sensory systems. Other fish have bioluminescence. They create their own light through chemical reactions. But the light isn't visible to humans. It's in a spectrum that only these deep-sea creatures can perceive. And we're discovering new species regularly. Scientists conduct an expedition to the Mariana Trench, and they find something they've never seen before, a new species, a new adaptation, a new mystery. But because expeditions are rare, because the sample size is small, we're getting glimpses of a biological world that we don't fully understand. Scientists have found amphipods with genetic sequences that suggest they've been isolated in the trench for millions of years. Evolution in isolation. Adaptation to extreme conditions. Scientists have found that certain deep-sea organisms have venom or toxins that are being studied for potential medical applications, painkillers, cancer treatments, pharmaceutical compounds that could revolutionize medicine, but we barely know they exist because we barely explore the deep ocean. Here's what's making scientists increasingly interested and increasingly secretive about deep-sea biology. Some of these organisms have compounds that military and corporate interests find valuable. Pharmaceutical companies want access to deep-sea genetics. Military organizations want to understand organisms that can survive extreme pressure because that knowledge could inform submarine design, material science, armor, technology. There are rumors that governments have been collecting deep-sea organisms, that corporations have been negotiating access to genetic material, that the rush to understand deep-sea biology isn't purely scientific, it's strategic, it's financial, it's about control. But the fundamental mystery remains, what else is down there? We've probably only seen a tiny fraction of the organisms that exist in the Mariana Trench. The deep ocean is vast. The trench is just one location. And we've only explored the most accessible parts. There could be entire ecosystems in other sections of the trench that we've never discovered. There could be life forms that are completely unlike anything we've documented. And here's the terrifying part: we're about to start mining down there. We're preparing to extract resources from the seafloor. We're going to disrupt ecosystems that evolved over millions of years. We're going to destroy organisms before we even discover them. We're going to release them into the water column. We're going to fundamentally transform a biological world that we barely understand. Military submarines have been operating in the Mariana Trench for decades, but nobody talks about what they're actually doing down there. This is the strategic reality that governments don't want you to understand. The Mariana Trench isn't just a geographical location. It's militarily important. It's strategically valuable. And the military interests of multiple nations are converging there right now. Nuclear submarines can dive deeper than most people realize. Modern attack submarines can reach depths of 2,000 feet. Some classified military vessels might go even deeper, and they patrol the area regularly. They monitor, they listen, they watch. But for what? What are they listening for? What are they watching for? The official story is that they're monitoring seismic activity, they're tracking earthquake patterns, they're collecting scientific data. But that's a partial truth at best. The military doesn't position submarines in specific locations just to collect scientific data. There's always a strategic component. There's always a geopolitical angle. Some intelligence analysts have suggested that the military is monitoring for signs of geological instability. They want to know if a major earthquake is coming, not because they care about public safety, but because a major earthquake at the Mariana Trench would be a strategically significant event. It would create tsunami waves that would affect military operations. It would disrupt naval bases. It would impact shipping lanes. It would change the balance of power in the Pacific region. But other analysts are saying something different. They're suggesting that the military presence is about resource control, that governments are positioning assets to stake claims on deep-sea resources, that they're establishing strategic locations in preparation for resource extraction wars. And here's where it gets interesting. Different nations have different theories about what's happening, and the justification is simple. Rare earth metals are valuable. Polymetallic nodules on the ocean floor contain cobalt, nickel, manganese, and other metals crucial for modern technology, batteries, electronics, renewable energy systems. The demand is massive. The profit potential is enormous. So why not mine them? Because mining the Mariana Trench would be catastrophic. And the companies know it, but the profit margins are so large that they're willing to take the risk anyway. Here's what deep-sea mining actually involves. Specialized equipment would be deployed to the ocean floor, machines would scrape up the polymetallic nodules, the sediment would be disturbed, huge clouds of sediment would be created, the sediment plumes would spread through the water column, the entire ecosystem would be disrupted. But that's just the immediate impact, because once you start disturbing the sea floor, once you're destabilizing the geological foundation, you're triggering cascading effects that nobody can predict. You're releasing chemicals that have been locked in the sediment for millions of years. You're introducing particulates into the water that will spread globally. You're fundamentally transforming an environment that evolved in isolation. And the timing is suspicious. The pieces don't fit unless you understand what's actually happening in the Mariana Trench. Military submarines are operating there. That's documented. Governments are positioning assets. That's visible to anyone paying attention. Corporations are preparing to mine resources. That's being announced publicly. Scientists are discovering organisms. That's being published. Geological instability is increasing. That's measurable. But why is all of this happening simultaneously? Why are all these interests converging at the same location at the same time? Some analysts are suggesting it's coincidence. The military has always operated there. Corporations have always been interested in resources. Scientists have always studied the deep ocean. It's just normal activity happening in parallel. But others are asking harder questions. They're connecting dots that most people don't see. And the picture they're painting is alarming. What if the geological awakening is real? What if the stress is actually building toward a catastrophic event? What if governments and militaries understand that a major earthquake in the Mariana Trench is becoming increasingly likely? What if that knowledge is classified? What if military positioning isn't about routine surveillance, but about preparation for a known catastrophe? And what if corporations are racing to extract resources before that catastrophe happens? What if mining companies understand that a major earthquake would devastate the region, would make mining impossible, would destroy everything? What if they're in a rush because they know the window is closing? This would explain the acceleration. This would explain why everything is happening faster. This would explain the secrecy. Because if the public knew that a major earthquake was imminent, if people understood that the Mariana Trench was approaching a critical threshold, the entire global economy would shift. Investment would flee. Coastal cities would begin evacuating. Supply chains would reorganize. Insurance markets would collapse. So the truth stays classified. But here's what's genuinely frightening. What if the accelerated mining itself is destabilizing the geological system further? What if the disturbance of the sea floor, the thermal disruption, and the chemical release, what if that's pushing the system past critical thresholds faster? What if the mining operations are triggering the very catastrophe that governments are secretly preparing for? This would be the ultimate irony. Geological systems responding by becoming more unstable, and the catastrophe arriving sooner because of the mining itself. And nobody stopping it because the public doesn't know, because governments can't admit they know, because militaries can't reveal their preparations, because corporations can't acknowledge the risk because it would halt operations. So the system continues toward catastrophe while every actor involved pretends everything is normal. Military submarines patrol and monitor. Mining permits are issued. Scientists publish discoveries, and the stress in the rock continues building. Some of the more radical researchers are suggesting that this is intentional, that certain decision makers understand the danger and have decided to maximize extraction before the catastrophe, that they're willing to accept the consequences, the destroyed ecosystem, the extinct organisms, the destabilized geology because the profit justifies it. But most researchers are suggesting something more subtle, that nobody is coordinating, that each organization is pursuing its own interests, that the military is preparing without telling the corporations, that the corporations are mining without understanding the geological risk, that scientists are discovering without being able to influence policy, The Mariana Trench is becoming a symbol of humanity's refusal to face hard truths. It's a place where profit motives override safety, where military secrets prevent public knowledge, where geological dangers are being accelerated by human activity, where the most extreme environment on Earth is being treated as a resource to exploit rather than a system to understand. And when the catastrophe comes, when the stress releases, when the tsunami spreads across the Pacific, we'll discover too late that we knew, that evidence existed, that warnings could have been issued, but that silence was chosen, secrecy was prioritized, profit was protected. The Mariana Trench hides more than just darkness. It hides dangers that directly threaten the surface world. And the more you understand what's actually happening down there, the more you realize how unprepared civilization actually is. Let's be clear about what we're looking at. Geological instability is building. That's not speculation. That's measurable. The stress is accumulating. The thermal vents are intensifying. The pressure systems are destabilizing. Scientists monitoring the region understand this is happening. They see the data. They understand the danger. And simultaneously, military submarines are positioning themselves strategically. Governments are preparing for something. They're not doing this for routine operations. The positioning pattern suggests preparation for a known event. They understand something is coming. They're getting ready. And while governments prepare in secret, while militaries position in silence, corporations are racing to extract resources. Mining operations are being prepared. Technology is being developed. Permits are being issued. The rush is accelerating, as if there's a deadline, as if they know the window is closing. The timing is too convenient. The convergence is too coordinated. Military activity, corporate mining, geological instability, all accelerating simultaneously. Either this is the most remarkable coincidence, or there's a connection that the public isn't seeing because the public isn't being told. And the environmental cost is already being calculated. Scientists know that mining will destroy ecosystems. They know organisms will go extinct. They know the ocean chemistry will be disrupted, but those costs are being treated as acceptable. They're being externalized. They're being dismissed as the price of progress, the price of resource extraction, the price of profit. But here's what's genuinely terrifying. What if the mining itself is triggering the geological catastrophe? What if the disturbance of the seafloor, the thermal disruption, the sediment plumes, what if that's destabilizing systems that were already approaching critical thresholds? What if human activity is accelerating the very disaster that governments are secretly preparing for? This would mean we're not just facing a natural catastrophe, we're facing a human-accelerated catastrophe. We're destabilizing the geological system for profit while militaries prepare for the consequences, while the public remains completely ignorant. And the public will remain ignorant because keeping people uninformed serves everyone's interests. Informed people ask questions. Informed people demand safety. Informed people oppose dangerous activities, but uninformed people accept official narratives. They trust institutions. They go about their lives unaware of what's building beneath them. The Mariana Trench represents something larger than just a geographical location. It's a symbol of how modern civilization operates. We extract resources without understanding consequences. We make strategic decisions in secret. We prioritize profit over safety. We allow geological systems to destabilize while we race to exploit them. And we tell the public everything is fine while preparing for catastrophe. If a major earthquake hits the Mariana Trench, if a tsunami is generated, if coastal cities are devastated, the death toll could be in the millions. Supply chains would collapse. The global economy would face unprecedented disruption. Millions of people would be displaced. The humanitarian crisis would overwhelm every response system. But your survival depends on understanding this now. Not when it happens, not when you're watching the waves approach your coast, now, while you can still prepare, while you can still understand what's coming. You now understand what's happening in the Mariana Trench. You know the geological instability is real. Military interests are positioning, corporations are racing to mine resources, the public is being kept in the dark. So what are you going to do with this knowledge? Like this video, not for me, but because liking signals to YouTube that this content matters, that people care about understanding what's actually happening beneath the ocean, that you want more videos exploring the dangers nobody is talking about. Your like is a signal that truth matters. Comment, tell me what you think. Tell me if this changes how you see the ocean. Tell me if you've ever wondered what governments are keeping secret from you. Tell me if this makes sense of things that seemed random before. The comment section becomes a community of people who actually understand what's at stake. That matters more than you realize. Subscribe, not as a one-time viewer, as someone committed to understanding the real threats. More videos are coming, deep dives into other geological dangers, into systems that are destabilizing, into knowledge that's being hidden from the public. The Mariana Trench is becoming a battleground, a place where profit motives, military strategy, geological forces, and human ignorance are converging. And the outcome will determine what happens to coastal cities. It will determine whether we're prepared for catastrophe or blindsided by it. But you can't be blindsided if you understand what's coming. You can't be deceived if you know the truth. You can't be helpless if you have knowledge. The deep ocean is calling, not with wonder, with warning. Are you listening?